Hey, 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 chicas! Welcome to the Lovelda Show Women of Power podcast, the show where women share their personal power tools, the techniques, strategies, and ways of being which have enabled their business and life success. I'm your host, Lovelda Vincenzi, a female speaker mentor, speaker, and event host on a mission to unleash authentic, powerful female voices onto the world. In today's episode, we'll be uncovering the power tools of Elaine Powell. Elaine is an award-winning professional speaker, peak performance, and a top public speaking coach. Her company is devoted to developing and transforming people's growth and lives. Over the years, Elaine has trained over 25,000 people in the art of public speaking, communication skills, and developing a leadership mindset, delivered over 100 talks, and facilitated 600 workshops. Passionate about speaking, Elaine ran a TEDx for 3 years, was a Sherry Blair mentor, and has worked with companies like BT, the British Army, and the BBC to inspire, motivate, and train their leaders and leaders of the future. Elaine is one of those blessed individuals who left an unfulfilling, high-paying job for a professional, profitable entrepreneurial career. In this episode, we'll be uncovering the key decision points in that journey and the drivers which have enabled Elaine to have such an incredible, successful entrepreneurial career. Now remember, all the links shared in this show can be found in the show notes. The only way to make sure that you get your regular fix of this show is to click that subscribe button right now to make sure you get updates as soon as a new show is added. Well, I am buzzing with excitement, so enough from me. Let's get on with the show. Hey, 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 chicas. Welcome to the Lovelda Show Women of Power podcast. Bada bing, bada boom. You better expect yet another phenomenal episode. If you haven't left us a review yet, by us, I mean me and my multiple personalities, then you need to go over and do that at the end of this episode, not in the middle. Don't leave to go leave me a review, although I do really appreciate it. I'm reading them. They're gorgeous. Yum. So today's episode, as you know, each episode, I'm inviting on incredible women who've done phenomenal things to talk about what it is makes them powerful, because I am genuinely on a mission to get to the bottom of what a powerful woman looks like. And we're getting a few different perspectives and a few different insights as to what that looks like. And today's guest is here to add some more flavor to the cake we've been baking over this season. So she's a TEDx speaker and a coach. Love it. Works with, loads of people, thousands of people in terms of helping them transform their lives. She's been on a personal development journey of her own. I actually met her doing a summit for speakers. You need to go check it out. It's called the Speakerpreneur Summit. We'll find out if it's still up, but there's a Speakerpreneur Academy if you're a speaker as well. So you need to go check that out. I'll make sure to add those links into the show notes. But you're probably here sitting going, seriously, Lovelda, can you just dive into it already? Stop teasing us. Who is this woman? Shall we do it? Please welcome my guest today, Elaine Powell.
Thank you for having me on the show. Hello, everybody. How are you? I want them to answer back because I'm so used to being on stage. How are you guys?
We're good.
Back in their own way.
Look, I'm just going to channel our listeners today. We're good. Yeah. We're doing good. Elaine, we spoke a little bit about your journey because I had the beautiful pleasure of helping you wrap up the summit where we swapped seats for a moment. So first Elaine interviewed me and then I got to interview her. So this is my second interview with Elaine, but this time it's on my terms.
I should be scared. I feel like I should be scared.
I don't bite, promise.
No, it's be afraid. When I get power in my hands, sometimes I'm very mischievous. That's just me.
Well, I can't let you know my mischief up front. That kind of ruins the fun. We kind of want to dive into it very slowly.
Cool.
So you are a speaker, peak performance coach. Mm-hmm. How did you get into that? Because you didn't start off deciding you were going to be a speaker.
No,
that wasn't, you weren't one of these people who kind of went and going, I'm going to be a coach and I'm going to be a speaker. And that was not your journey to where you are today. You had a really interesting one. Take us back to how you ended up doing what you're doing.
I think that's a challenging question, because I feel that everything in our life has led up to where we are right now.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no part of it that it doesn't fit in, so I could take you back to when I was young, but we're going to go much further forward, and I'm going to just touch on a few points, but then sort of elaborate on others. I never went to university. I was just someone who wanted to make money. So I just dived into being a secretary, and, I was in that field for 10 years, became a paralegal, and great money, but I wasn't being fulfilled. And at that point in my life, I was in my 20s, and I was on like £45,000. It was a lot of money back then.
Well, it's still a lot of money right now for a 20-year-old to kind of start in your 20s on 45K. I mean, even in today's money, that's a lot of money. So in those days, you were killing it.
Yeah, I guess I was lucky. I was with an American law firm, that one of the sort of 10 who founded it while it was setting up in the UK. So I grew with them up into 400 or 500 people. So, and I was doing a lot of overtime as well. But when you're earning great money, but you're not being fulfilled, the money just, it doesn't pull you anymore. So I did this amazing personal development course, and I sat back for 3-4 days and thought, if I was to do anything in my life, because I'm going to work a third of my life and I need to be fulfilled, what would that be? No fear, no limitations. And just, I listened to that voice inside of me, which I believes in all of us, and it guides us. And it said, work with young people. I thought, yeah.
Where'd that come from?
Yeah.
You were like, okay, that's what I'm going to do next.
Yeah. And it boils down to what I find as a speaking coach, trainer, peak performance trainer, that a lot of people want to give back the learning and help people work their way through the challenges that they work through. So my sort of thing with the young people is I wanted them to learn who they were when they were like young, so they wouldn't have to make so many mistakes. They would have a understanding of how this functions, their brains, how their feelings work when you're young, because then you're going to make much better decisions. So I jumped out of law. I started to work with young offenders, jumped in at the deep end.
Of course. I mean, young people, you would have thought you'd decide to take up teaching. No. Where did you go, Elaine? Where did you go? It wasn't a school, was it?
No, it was a behaviour assessment unit for the most challenging young offenders in the country.
Always in the deep end, my dear.
Yeah, I think I'm one of those people that I listen to the voice and I just jump. I don't really have too much internal dialogue that holds me back. And it's after I jump, that's when my internal dialogue goes crazy. You're like, oh, what have you done? And I'm like,
You've made the decision by then.
Yeah. Whereas I think many people, they have that urge. They then listen to their internal dialogue, which a lot of times can then talk them out of going down that pathway that was there to lead them to where they're, on their journey of enlightenment and growth. Mm-hmm. So, I found there's two people who do that. So there's the ones who talk themselves out of it. And then there's the ones like me that just jump in and then manage to swim and
figure
really
it out,
fast.
Flap for a little bit and then kind of go, oh, this is not so bad. I've got this.
Yeah, you learn really fast that way, and you've got to know that you can do it.
Yeah.
And that you'll fall forwards and you'll learn as you grow. So I think that's always been my way of progressing. I just jump in and know I'll figure it out along the way. And if I don't know, I'll ask other people.
It's a huge amount of sort of personal confidence, like internal belief. That's the phrase I'm using. It's a significant amount of internal belief to be that person who says yes and then works out the details later, because it's almost as if you kind of have to believe and trust that the yes is going to move you forward and you're going to be okay. It's the going to be okay piece. Like, this is not going to break you. You'll work it out. It'll be fine. You can get through it. So that's incredible. How long were you working with these highly challenging young offenders for? And
amazing, incredible. Yeah, I think that's where I really found Elaine, because working in a law firm, I was, when sometimes we're working in organizations, we adapt to that environment, we adapt to that culture, and it's like a part of us is left at home. Mm-hmm. A part of us, we segment who we are, and doing a lot of personal development along the way that led me to working with the young people, I found that the more I was myself, the easier it was for them to relate to me.
That's big, because like you say it and you skim over it as if it's a little thing. I want your little gold nugget thing that you had in the Speakpreneur Summit. Like, I've been doing these interviews going, I want a gold nugget card. I'm going to have to create one.
Yeah.
But that idea that the more you were yourself, the easier they related. Because especially in an environment like that, it's almost instinctive to want to do the opposite, to go in and have some bravado about you, have a confidence about you, like put on a version of you such that you can be in that situation. But this idea of actually the more layers I took off, not physically, because that would have been a whole nother story, but the more you open up and shed some of the layers that stop kind of wanting to purport to be something, to be somebody else, but just allowed yourself to be who you are without a show, the more you connected with people. Now, I want to talk about that a little bit more, because
for sure.
especially on a stage, that principle to me just excites me. I think especially on a stage when you're stepping onto the bigger and bigger stages, it's like, oh my gosh, there was like 50 eyeballs before, and now there's like 100 eyeballs, and now there's like 2,000 eyeballs. I can attest it feels different in front of 2,000 eyeballs than 50 eyeballs. So this idea of getting that the same person in front of the 50 can be in front of the 2,000, and it's allowing that person to be the same off and on stage, that creates the connection.
Yeah. So what I have to say about that, when I did this personal development course, what I really saw was that there was me in the middle. They had us do an exercise, and they had you in the middle, and then you had to create all the different communities around you, family, friends, if you go to church, clubs you belong to. And what I saw for myself was that Elaine in the middle was a different person with all these different communities. With my family, I was a certain way, and then with my friends, I was like, whoa. And what I got to see for myself was it was really constricting, that I couldn't truly be myself. And so I made a decision at that point that I was going to be Elaine wherever I was. That true essence of Elaine. And I think I didn't think more of, how are people going to receive that? If I'm in a boardroom, how are people going to take that, Elaine? I obviously, at that point, I hadn't even thought about being on stage, being a speaking coach, because that just wasn't part of my journey. My journey at that point was working with young people, and we were writing reports on the behaviors. Then I was doing manage the behaviors. And then we were equipping them with, cognitive behavior therapy, some, upgrading their thinking so that they could go off and, live a more fruitful life. But while I was going through my own transformation of learning to just be Elaine, I think it just came at the same time, which was great, because I found that with the young people, especially, there were 10 to 17-year-old boys. Let's just say that 12-year-olds telling you, when you share your pearls of wisdom with them, and then they go, you're just chatting shit. They didn't
hold back, did they?
No filters whatsoever. I think in my first year of working with them, because some of them were very vulnerable. They couldn't go to young offenders. Some of them were like 10-year-olds who were getting involved with, they actually hadn't committed any crime. We did have a fraction, like a third was sentenced, a third was on remand, and then less than a third was what we call welfare. They were more feral young people, and they were like 10, 12, 13-year-olds that didn't have a stable home background. So they were out in the world getting involved in drugs and alcohol and paedophile rings, and, not necessarily committing crime, but just so vulnerable for themselves and to the community as well, that the police, the social workers would take them off the street and bring them to our facility to kind of have them
have
breathe,
a moment. Yeah.
settle, look at their life, and have us as key workers and psychiatrists and psychologists enable them to get a bit more grip with who they are and what they were going through. So yeah, I was dealing with those types of people that in my first year, because they were very volatile, because they were angry, sad, you know, just confused. I spent the first year crying a lot. Because, you know, you're dealing with young people's human beings' raw emotions.
Unfiltered.
Yeah. And the only people they sometimes could take it out on was you. And they would be on the floor being restrained because they were smashing things up, or they were fighting, or, you know, some of them were self-harming. And it was a really challenging time for me. But what I found during that time of my own transformation, and then working with the young people that helped me to transform, you know, they mostly helped me more than I helped them, I feel, was that the more that I could just be authentic and real and honest, and those layers that we put up because we feel that we have to be this certain way, we have to have this professionalism, this gravitas. No, kids smell your bullshit straight away. They'll call it out. And you have to then, you start really reflecting on yourself. And then I saw that over time, the more that I could take that away, which meant finding Elaine, who was child. Elaine, who I'm mischievous. You've seen pictures of me as a baby, and my, you know, the youngest of 3. That's my spirit, is young, it's laughing, it's playfulness. The more I was that, the easier it was to build rapport just like that.
Because people kind of feel that. I think it's interesting because children, and the younger they are, the less filters they've got. It's just, they don't have the words. They just sense that they're in or they're out. And I've always found it really interesting with like who a baby would go to. It's like they just have a sense. They're like, no, I'm not going there. I don't like the energy. And I don't think it kind of matters whether you believe in energy or not. The way I put it is, listen, you know how you walk in a room and some people you see the other side of the room and you're like, I need to get to know them. No reason why. Person hasn't even opened their mouth. You don't know them from Adam, just something about them has you go, I need to meet them. Yeah. And then there's other people, you spot them and you think, they better not come near me. Yeah. No reason. You don't know them. They haven't done you anything. That's just energy. It's like this underlying kind of current of what we're sort of putting off. So that experience with the challenging, I'm going to call them the challenging young people, helped to bring out more of the Elaine that we know today. So what was the next step from there? Because I'm sitting here going, okay, secretary in a law firm, then you jump ship to be more you and work with challenging young teens, which clearly makes sense. And now you're doing speaking, coaching, and you're on stages. How did that second transition happen?
Yeah, once again, I listened to that little voice inside of me, and it started to get sort of itchy feet, that 7-year itch, and I needed something else to stimulate me. But I didn't look to go into another career. I took a year out, and I thought, listen, I don't want to be 60, 70 where I'm going to see the world. I want to do it while I'm young. So I took a year out, and by myself, I rented out my house, and off I went traveling around the world for a year. I went to 18 countries. It was one of the most amazing experiences I had as a mature person. So I wasn't in my 20s getting drunk and, doing stupid things. I had that maturity, and it was really incredible. And when I came back, it was really funny because I had been my own person for making my own decisions. I had evolved, I had expanded beyond belief, and my connection with people was even greater. Going back to a very small corner of the earth in Annerley every day,
you were like, nah.
Routine, I just couldn't do it anymore. And so I made the decision to go out searching, looking for, I thought I was looking for my purpose. What I have discovered is that I create my purpose because I'm a creator.
That's super cool. And so where was what was the first gig or the first foray after you came back? Did you pick clients? Did you kind of go, oh, I think I'll test out coaching? Like, what was that first step?
No, I tried property. I did a course on property, and did PPI because it was very new back then. It wasn't on TV at all. I did network marketing.
You did the whole circuit then?
Yeah, I was searching instead of, like, for me, just choosing something and choosing to go with it and just go. I was like, no, it will come to me one day. But what I realized was I felt I'd spent my whole life waiting for my purpose. One day I'm going to find, why does everybody else know it and I don't?
Oh, I hear you.
Instead of just knowing that my purpose is what I choose.
That is such a powerful way of thinking.
I just choose it and I go down that path knowing it's the right path for me.
And if you feel differently in 5 years' time, you choose another one.
Yeah, and it will just add layers to who I am. Like, there's no wrong. I don't believe in right and wrong because that's a language concept. It's just going on your path. So what happened with me and the network marketing, this is like a pivot. This is like a pivotal point for me, was that I went to an event and they were doing a personal development network marketing. And it was called Success University. And I watched this man at the front of the room and he was incredible. Especially also, he's talking about personal development. So it's not like he's talking about how to make a chair or how to do internet marketing. It was about developing you, which I was so interested about.
Wow.
Human beings. Yeah. And I remember sitting there thinking, I want to do that. I want to present at the front because he's just so inspiring. He just had me in his hand. And I was like, and so at the end, I went up to him and I said, look, definitely I want to join the organization. Never done network marketing, but I'll give it a go. And I want to present. And he was like, go for it. So I joined. I think within about 2 weeks, I was at the front of the room presenting already slides that were there. I just had to learn the script. And then I felt that I wasn't as comfortable. I was very conscious of the audience, very conscious of myself. That Elaine wasn't there anymore. I felt like I was being something else. So I spoke to the person and I said, look, I feel I need to develop myself. And he said, oh, go to Toastmasters. And Toastmasters is an amateur speaking club. Off I went. And, that's the thing that ignited my journey into being a peak performance and public speaking coach.
Da, 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 da. Love it. I mean, I love hearing people's journeys because I know sometimes we can sit in a little bubble and think, oh gosh, you watch somebody who's playing at the top of their game or playing 10 steps ahead of you in the same game, right? So maybe they haven't reached their peak, but where they are feels like a peak for you right now. And it's easy to sit there and not recognize that there was a journey there. And perhaps that person didn't always know, like maybe they were in your place at some point and they were a little bit confused and a bit lost and not knowing quite exactly what it is that they want to do. And now you watch these people, it's like what you said, when you see everybody else seems to know their purpose. Why do I not know mine? So I love hearing people's journeys to almost like humanize this idea of it's not necessarily you roll out of bed and everybody just knows from the minute they were born. Some of us have been on a little bit of a journey to get there, okay?
Yeah.
The main thing is sticking to that sort of destination. I'm really curious about what it is that you think makes a powerful woman, especially given, being in scenarios where in highly male dominated arenas, being in law and working with these challenge teams because they were all boys, different age groups, but they're can be quite intimidating environments to be in for women. So I'm just really curious from your perspective, what is it that you think makes a woman powerful?
Whew. That's such a big question.
No, it's really small. It's like only a few words.
I know. I can only speak from my perspective, and then people will take what they can take from it. You know, I feel like, not that I've confidence is something that I guess I've worked on in certain areas, and some areas I'm stronger, some I'm not. And I think I've always not had the self-belief, but I just go for it.
Yeah.
But recently, and I think for me, this is will answer your question. I went through a relationship, and I hadn't met somebody I wanted to be with for quite a long time. So it was just so amazing to meet somebody who made my heart sing again. And I really saw that I could create a future with them. And then it didn't work out. And I'm not going to go into the details here of why it didn't. But what I saw from, and it took me a long time to get past this. But really what I saw was that I was so glad I went through it, because the lesson it taught me has been so, so valuable. Because it was like a blind spot to me. What I saw was that I always thought that my self-worth and my belief, I've done tons of personal development. I train people in peak performance. That came out of public speaking because I saw people were in their minds too much. And I thought all of that was really high until I went through the breakdown in this relationship. And what I saw was my self-love, my value, who I valued myself to be, and my worth was so much lower than what it needed to be. And when I looked at all in my past relationships, because sometimes people won't see it in their business, even though it's there's going to be some other area of life where it's going to show up, whether it's your finances, your health. For me, my Achilles heel has always been the relationships, you know, business and, you know, being successful there. It's a journey for me. And I've taken some significant steps, definitely not where I want to be, but my relationship, personal, that's always been the thing I'm always like working on. And when I look at past relationships, I always held my partners up on a pedestal.
Wow.
That their value was more than mine. Like I was grateful to be in a relationship with them, you know, and it's like, whoa, Elaine, how could you have not seen that you've been, I saw it, but I just kept on pushing it to the side. So after this relationship ended and I saw that, I've gone on a journey of really, and I mean, because I always thought of course I love myself, but really loving myself, really valuing me, like asking myself the question when things externally come towards me, how am I going to respond in my truest value?
Ooh,
if I really value who I am, how am I going to respond to this?
That is such a powerful question. And I love the way you put it in terms of sometimes it's in your business, but sometimes it's somewhere else in your life that you can get the lesson, and it will impact both, right? I've worked with business owners before, and they genuinely just did not want to touch personal stuff. And I'd see the same patterns in their business, but I'm like, I can't help you because the pattern is the blockage is something personal that's playing out, and you don't want to go there. And you can't be one person in your business and a completely different person in your relationships. It just doesn't exist. Like, fix that, go there, deal with it, and the rest of it will kind of move itself forward. And I love this idea of like, how would you know, if you were really honoring yourself, you're really being true to yourself and really loving yourself, how would you respond to a situation? Because I think sometimes as women, particularly, we want to be nice, and sometimes being nice is not being nice to us. Like, being nice to others is being really, really mean to ourselves because it doesn't take into account our personal needs. So that is incredibly powerful, and that little twist in how to think about it, because you hear like self-love, but that question, I'm like, girl, I see why you do what you do. I see it. You know, and like just two things I'll sort of say on this is one was an example of somebody who was possibly a potential date, and he's like, yeah, you can come over to my area and we'll go for a drink. And
like the others, that I had to stop myself and say, well, no, the emperor needs to come to the empress.
That's just not how it works in my world.
Yeah, just small little things like that, like stopping and saying, no, if I'm valuing who I truly am, listen, you need to come to me. And the fact you're actually asking me to go to you, is that a little red flag? We'll see.
Yeah.
And so it's just looking at that and just asking yourself that question. But also I have done the work to go deep and go, why is that? Why has that been entrenched in my behavior and my autopilot since I was young? What happened in the family home that had me see my self-worth and my self-value as much lower than it really is or needs to be? So I think if you can do the deeper work, it's a really deep, entrenched, synapses and pattern in your brain, and it's going to go into autopilot. It's going to keep on wanting to be the first thing that shows up, and you've got to interrupt it all the time.
And knowing it, understanding it, befriending it allows you to see, oh, flip, I fell down that hole again, didn't I? It's like, I was doing so well. And then, there it is again. My Achilles heel.
Don't beat yourself up, because then that deflates the whole thing. Don't beat yourself up. Just recognize it. And I find that what's really, really powerful, and it's so underestimated, is the power of sharing. When you share this story with people, when you share, your pain around it, it becomes less it doesn't have so much of a hold on you anymore.
Well, it's less of that dirty little secret, right? As soon as it's out there, you're kind of like, nah, okay.
Yeah. And then in my world of speaking, I will share this on stage, because then other people can relate to it. They'll learn from it. They'll grow from it as well. So, there's something like turn your mess into a message.
And it is a really powerful thing to do, provided you are out of the mess. Don't come in the mess, sharing it from your messy place. You need to do that. The messy sharing, you do that with your friends.
Exactly.
Once you come out of the mess and you really, truly are learning, embedding the lesson, and there's no sting to it anymore. That's like when you're out of the messiness. Yeah. Then you can share it as a message. But if you're still in it, and every time it comes up, you get that little anger or hurt or what, and you ain't ready to share it. You gotta go deep, clear it out, sort it out, and then share it, because it's only powerful when you can share it from a space where you're not connected to the emotion.
Yeah. And sometimes I am still connected to emotions around, like not having children. And if I tell a story, I can feel the emotions rising up, but I know how to have them just hover below the surface, so that I'm feeling them. Therefore, the audience is feeling them, because I had people crying because I'm feeling it, but the tears are still held back. I just slow down. I take breaths, but I also want to feel it to some degree, because they'll mirror me,
Yeah.
But as you said,
you don't want to be having a meltdown, though. It's not. Don't turn it into a therapy session. I think that's where I'm going to. Like, the audience is not, it's not a group therapy. Okay.
Very good. Yes.
You're supposed to be in the position of teaching and sharing and inspiring, not turning the audience to go, oh my God, I'm so sorry for you. That's not, you've missed the mark then. It should trigger something that transforms.
Yeah. Powerful with the message.
Absolutely. So this moves me quite nicely onto Elaine's power tools. So your journey has been interesting, and thank you. I want to firstly say thank you for sharing some of the personal side as well, because I know often it can be quite challenging for people to bring both of those things together and to be open about things that have happened. So I really want to honor you and thank you for sharing those stories, because they really do help people who are experiencing similar sort of things to have that little moment of not feeling alone. So thank you for that. And so now I want to know about your personal power tools. So just as a little recap, what this is if we were to take your life's journey and your business journey and look at where your success has come from, like across the board, and literally boil it down to three things: tools, techniques, ways of being that have been pivotal. What would they be? Should we start with the first one?
Lovelda, I do a talk on each of these, so it's like a 90-minute talk.
Do you know what? You're going to have to give us a snippet and keep us wanting more. So towards the end, you're going to get inundated with folk. They'll be like, oh my gosh, you mean there's more? There's more.
Okay, so snippets. So the first one is that I think from the time that, and everyone's got their own belief, everyone's got their own concepts, but for me, the time that I took on and I started to live by that, I have thoughts, but what I think about isn't real.
Ooh.
You know, it's not necessarily real. I just have a thought. And just because I think this person possibly doesn't like me doesn't mean it's so. Just because I feel that I can't, as people share with me, oh, I can't stand on stage, or I'm going to be boring. Well, no, you've just made that up. It's just language, and language is a creation that we created as human beings to make sense of the world.
Mm-hmm.
It's a creation. You know, and scientists and neuroscientists, they're still trying to work out how thoughts really work. We still haven't got the grips on where do they actually come from, apart from being formed in language and synapses firings in our brain. But for me, the real pivotal point has been just seeing that just because I think it doesn't mean it's true.
Ooh.
And therefore, if I've made up language, if I've made up something about myself or about a situation, I've got to ask myself, does it serve me or does it not serve me? And if it doesn't serve me, I interrupt it, and I got to let it go. Just let it go.
Powerful. That is so powerful to think, just because I think it doesn't make it true. Because we put a lot of power into our thoughts. I'm going to go away and think about this. When it comes to a decision, we have to think about it. And there's a lot of power in our thoughts. And just because we think it doesn't make it true, and if it's not going to serve me, I don't have to think it.
Just, you got to interrupt it. People like Tony Robbins and DeMartini and all these, gurus, they have like NLP. It's just tips and techniques to just reframe, change your state so that you can just change your thinking. It's once you start to learn once I learned myself how to have a lot more responsibility for only entertaining thoughts inside my head that had me grow, and leave the ones that don't, because they're not serving me. A lovely quote, I've shared it with you before, but I love it, which is, your thoughts are your garden, your life is your seed. Your life is your garden, your thoughts are your seeds. If your life isn't awesome, it's because you're watering the weeds.
Ooh. Don't entertain the thoughts that aren't serving you. Just do not entertain them. That's really powerful. So the first thing is, you just don't entertain thoughts that don't serve you. You're very consciously aware of what it is that you're thinking, and have a lot of responsibility. I noticed that word. That's a big word.
Big word.
Responsibility for your thoughts.
Yeah, I was reading the Jack Canfield book, and the whole first paragraph is on 100% responsibility. Just take responsibility, and you have a lot more power there. But people do it externally, or they even do it with themselves, but they don't sometimes do it with what they're entertaining with their thoughts and their language. So, take responsibility, and you've got to interrupt it. If you don't, you're going to go down the rabbit hole. And the rabbit hole is a deep, dark place that many times you just don't want to go down there. So,
you get stuck. It's cold. It's miserable. You don't want to talk. I mean, it's not a fun place. It's not where Alice went. No. It's a different rabbit hole. Alice found a good rabbit hole. Our rabbit holes do not lead to Wonderland.
Yes, so phone a friend, put on some music, do some meditating. You've got to interrupt it, change the state, as Tony Robbins says, and then create something new that actually serves you. So that's the first thing.
Okay. And number two?
I've got to tell a story around this. So I was on a peak performance coaching program. It was a 7-month program, and I was a participant. And the foundation of this whole program was integrity, and integrity in being your word. That without integrity, nothing works. If the building doesn't have integrity, it's going to fall down. If a wheel doesn't have all the spokes in the wheel solid, if you take one off, the wheel's going to buckle. So without integrity, nothing works. But yet we have it with other things, but we're not applying it to ourselves. And then we're not applying it to what we give our word to. And so the training was, how can you have integrity that when you say A happens. When you say B happens. Now, I do talks on this, and, I've incorporated parts of it into workshops that I do. And what I found is we are very integrous with other people. So if we say, like, I said I was going to be on this interview and here I am.
Ta-da!
Yeah, we give our word to other people, and most of the time we try not to let them down. It happens sometimes, life gets in the way, but we try and honor our word. But what I find is people also don't, there's something about themselves that they can just, 6 o'clock comes, I said I'll go to the gym, it's cold, I'm tired, I'm staying in bed. Like, that's where the power is, like knowing to keep your word to yourself.
Ooh, not with others, with yourself, boo. With yourself.
Keep it with others, but the power is, if you can know that you are integrous with yourself, that's a whole nother level of performance. So what happened around this was, I was on this program and I was in the office doing some work, assisting, and I was with my friend Peter, and one of the rules was you don't eat in the office. And I'm having my food, I'm eating, because I like to do what I want when I want to do it.
When you want to do it, because you're a bit cheeky like that.
I am. And so my friend Peter, he says, "Oh, Elaine, you're eating. We're not meant to." And I said, "Yes, so I'm hungry. I want to eat." So he said, "Oh no, when I eat, I go outside or I go to the toilet." And I said, "Well,
why am I going to eat in the toilet?
I'm going to do what I want when I want to do it." And he said, "Oh, Elaine, there's something really sort of unsettling about that." And because I was in the inquiry, I wanted to learn, and I wanted to see what he was seeing that I possibly couldn't see. So I said, "Well, what is it, Peter?" And he goes, "I feel that if you and I were on a journey together and we were going up a mountain, if we were climbing, Mount Everest, I feel like I wouldn't be able to trust you. Because at some point you would do what you want when you want to do it and not honor your word to our expedition."
Ooh.
I was like, oh, wow. So
now this is bigger than the food.
Yeah, there's a trust element going on there. So I said, "Thank you for sharing," because I really wanted to see it. And then I pulled one of the coaches, Ridvan, and I said, "Ridvan, what is this? I want to discover what's going on over there with me that had me think that it's okay to just not be my word at certain points. I can and I can't." He gave me this analogy of golf, and it didn't really work for me. So I made up my own analogy. And this is what it really
Because we can do that.
because it's all made up. So this is what because up until that time, I've been fighting the program because I wanted to do it my way. And how I saw it was, this program was the recipe to a lemon sponge cake. Now, when you have a recipe, they give you all the ingredients. They tell you how to mix it. They give you the cooking instructions, how long to have it in the oven. And then at the end of it, you get a lemon sponge cake. Now, at the end of this program, I wanted to be one of their leaders. So they'd given me the ingredients.
Yeah, this is what you need to do.
Sponge cake. But what I saw was that Elaine didn't do that. Elaine had the ingredients, but instead of having lemon, I'm like, no, I'll do it my way. I want to have avocado. And okay, I'll have the flour, I'll have the eggs, but actually I want to put some dates in there. And yeah, maybe I'll cook it for an hour, but I haven't got much time, so I'm going to cook it for like 45 minutes. Now, at the end of it, Lovelda, do I have a lemon sponge cake? And I really want that lemon sponge cake because I want to be a leader. Do I have a lemon sponge cake?
You have an avocado gloop.
Exactly. And just that simple thing showed me that, for me, being your word is doing exactly what it says on the tin. When I have in my diary to get up at 6, I get up at 6. When I have a time to call somebody, whether I want to or not, that's got nothing to do with it. That's just some other conversation in my head. I just do it. Now, after that, I saw that actually I wanted a lemon sponge cake, and I started to do what they said for me to do in the program, for me to be a leader. And at the end, I became a leader. I became one of the leaders. Exactly. And after that, because I trained myself to be my word, I was more productive in 1 year than I'd been in 5 years.
So, be your word with yourself. That's like the most powerful with yourself, because being your word with other people is so much easier. You set yourself so many goals that we just, not even goals, just things we say we're going to do and then we just stop.
And it's not easy. It takes people 7 months on this program to start to honor their word. And then I coached and I head coached on this program. So it became more of a, you
had to be it even more because now people are watching you.
Exactly. And it took 3 years for it to be more ingrained inside of me, because I had, 30 whatever years of just doing what I want when I want to do it. And so it just, for those people listening, know that just start noticing when you're not being your word to yourself, and jump back on the bandwagon, re-promise, don't beat yourself up. And eventually it becomes part, you're just reprogramming your brain, basically. That's all you're doing. So that's the second thing. I know it's a longer story, but that was the second thing.
Powerful story. And it's the context around it as well. Because otherwise it's like, yeah, just do what you say you're going to do. But sometimes hearing it a little different with those different stories and different contexts, you can kind of go, okay, maybe this is a bit more important than I was giving it credit for. And perhaps I should reevaluate and look at being my word with myself and honoring that. And then what's your third one?
My third one is action. You gotta be in action. And because I'll just, I know time's moving on, I'll just keep it short. It's, just taking one step at a time. Every action is going to get a result. And it's the same as when I look at my list and I have things I need to achieve for the day, being my word and doing it. And it's, for me, it's not even entertaining a dialogue about what I have to do. Because it's never what I have to do that keeps me from doing it. It's what I say about what I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. So just be in action. And something that's just popped into my head that I feel is even more powerful than the doing is who you're being.
I thought you were going to say that. I thought you were going to say that.
Because that's something that I share when I speak, and I put it inside my workshops as well, because it's so powerful that it's who you're being creates the actions that creates the results. Because we're always being something in life, whether it's being fun, vibrant, confident, focused, I could go on and on and on. DeMartini said there's 4,600 different ways of being, feelings, emotions in the dictionary. So we're always being something, but being conscious that when you're being angry, you're going to take a certain result. But when you're being confident, you're going to take a different result there. So I think for me, I've had many years of focusing on who am I going to be in this situation. Like on stage, I'm always generating before I go on stage that, how do I want to be? Well, actually, I want to be playful because I like being playful. So I'm going to be playful.
It's better than choosing to be a nervous gibberish wreck, right?
But many people aren't conscious that that's what they're choosing to be when they're on stage. Mm-hmm. And that's why the experience doesn't show up as a great experience for them or for the audience, because they're not conscious that they're choosing to be nervous, fearful, worried. Well, trust me, you're being that way, and that's why it's not a great experience for you. So choose who do you want to be, and I think that's how I kind of, one of the things that had me attract that partner that I still love, I can't say I don't, because I'll always love him, was that I saw what was missing, because I was being confident and powerful in who Elaine was being. But what was missing was that I actually wasn't being gentle. I wasn't being my feminine self, mm-hmm. being soft and being gentle. And it's no joke, Lovelda, I took that, I put it in my diary every day to be gentle and soft, to remind myself, because it's language you forget at times.
You so every day, back on default otherwise.
Yeah, exactly. And I walked down the road being gentle. Now, trust me, my sway was totally different. And that morning, no joke, 2 men out of the blue just said, "Good morning." I was like, "Good morning."
Oh, apparently being gentle works.
It does, because I attracted, my partner to me at that time, because I was being in my, which was natural to us anyway, but I was so focused on being confident, powerful, bold. It doesn't always attract the man.
And it's useful it's a great point that you bring there, to consciously choose who do I, what's going to be the most powerful way of me being to achieve that result? And the stage is one example, relationships is another example, but that idea of if there's an area in your life or business where you're not getting the result, you're probably being, not congruent with the person who would get the results. So, if there's a lack of confidence, then you need to be more confident, perhaps. If there's a lack of action, you want to be more action orientated. But there's, just really having this idea of becoming so much more conscious. Elaine, my goodness, girl, you share a lot. When I say, you have to go back and re-listen to this, because when there's layers on top of layers on top of layers, and you feel like you got it, it's going to be like one of those almost like them Russian dolls. Like each time you listen, you get like a new little insight, like, ooh, I didn't see that one the first time. So there'll be people who've been listening to this and just having one aha moment after another. Like the ahas have been flowing like chronic, and they're kind of like, I've got an aha ocean going on here. I think I might need a little bit more of Elaine's help to pull this together in a sensible way, because I'm now sat here in Aha City. How does somebody get in touch with you if they wanted to connect with you?
Yeah, very easy. My name, ElainePowell.com, and you'll find me. Just go there and contact form, and hey, voila.
Bada bing, bada boom. Link is in the show notes. So you just click that link, go over, fill in the contact form, bada bing, bada boom. I also know, Elaine, you came with goodies. You came with presents. Yes. What have you brought for us today?
So for all business owners, entrepreneurs, and people who are aspiring to be a peak performer, and as I shared with you, when I work with people, I spend at least 50% of my time working on their mindset, because once you kind of deal with that, then it's easy to teach them the skill of speaking and creating products, etc. So it's 5 free training videos to have you, the 5 A's of peak performance, to have you have more mastery of your results in life.
Also in the show notes, 5 masteries of peak performance. Click the link in the notes and go and get it, but not before we wrap up. We've only got a little bit longer. Elaine, we have spoken about so much today. If there's just one thing you would like to leave our guests with today from today's conversation, what would that be?
I would say I would like each and every one of you to really understand that you're a giant. You are greatness. Not that you have greatness, you are greatness. And many people will want to back that away and go, no, not me. Yes, you. If you think of your children, a 1-year-old, a 2-year-old, they're powerful, they're bold, they're vulnerable, they're confident, they are everything. That is you. And therefore, you don't need to go out and get more confident. You don't need to go and get anything. It's already inside of you. I just would say, work on yourself. And the more you work on yourself, you're just going to take away things that are in the way of you stepping into your greatness, in you embracing that you are a giant, because you were born that way. So that's my message to you. Just really get present on how phenomenal you really are, and things will start to show up in your life, because you're going to attract them in, because you're just being that essence, your core, which is greatness.
Girl, you is already great. That's the thing. You're already great. There's nothing new to get. There's nothing new to find. You just got to uncover and unleash. You've been listening to the Lovelda Show, Women of Power podcast. Make sure you click that subscribe button. Leave us a 5-star review, just to make sure that you're notified when the next show gets added. Until next time, you gorgeous, beautiful, powerful beings. Ciao.